We're taking the Velvet Queen to the World's Fair and we're dancing to some Casablanca Beats with your mum and dad. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Becks Perfect, and this is Offscreen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom.
Groovy.
Welcome to Offscreen. We are back, and if you are in the realm of watching the cinema this weekend, or going to the cinema this weekend, shall I say, you'd be forgiven for thinking that the one big film out there is the great Downton Abbey. I am especially excited to go and watch this. However, we're going to tell you right up front and be completely honest with you today that both Van and
I'm out of the country.
We're not able to watch it. You're out of the country. I wasn't able to watch it. So we've got some different movies for you. But let's just be very honest and say,
Downton
Abbey comes out.
Should we just note as well how hilarious that is, that the Brit is stuck in America and it turns out that Downton Abbey, about the most British movie ever made, won't come out here until the end of May. So they're not even press showing it here yet. I can't even get into a press show. I could have strolled I couldn't have swung a cat without hitting a press show in central London this past week. Oh, I tell you.
I would have thought that our friends across the pond would have gone mad for this as soon as they possibly can. But, look, I'm sorry to say we don't have Downton for you, but we do have quite the selection of other movies that are out this week. Yeah, an eclectic range. Shall we kick off with, some snow leopards? That might be the way to go with things, with The Velvet Queen.
Yeah, so the full title, full UK title, I believe, is The Velvet Queen: Snow Leopard. I think the original title is La Panthère de Neige. It's directed by and stars wildlife photographer Vincent Munier, who takes along for the ride Sylvain Tesson, the author, on a journey to document snow leopards in the Tibetan mountains. Apparently it's very difficult to see them before they see you and flee. They're very skittish, and so this is a sort of almost apocalypse now journey through, let's just say, about the most French prism ever constructed that you could view something through in the journey of wildlife documentation. Bex, you had the pleasure of this, or at least some.
Did I? So I would call this Gogglebox for people trying to find a snow leopard, because you spend 3/4 of this movie watching the people waiting for the snow leopards. And I'm like, guys, take a leaf out of Attenborough's books. There's better ways of putting out something about snow leopards. You literally only get to see the snow leopard in like the last 10 minutes. It is, my
10
God.
minutes. I tell you what I thought of at one point, because it's only, I think it's 91 minutes long. And
Thank
you
God.
do feel it, because it's a lot of, here's two dudes just sat in the snow, and there's like a monologue in voiceover that sounds like ponderous. And like I say, very French, apocalypse now style philosophizizing. What is the nature of man? When man does nothing
what is
but
life?
Strive to... Yeah, it is very much like that. It's like that Peter Griffin philosopher ancestor cutaway with the
God.
why, kind of moment. I found myself thinking of the Guinness advert with the he waits. That's what he does. He waits. Doom, 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 doom.
I mean, he waits for 90 whole minutes.
If you had edited this entire thing to that thing from the Guinness ad with doom, 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 doom in the background from the he waits, I think this would have worked actually. But because that's the thing though. It's shot. It's gorgeous. It's just incredibly well shot. I mean, there's fantastic visuals in it, and
but not brilliantly graded. Not brilliantly graded in my mind.
Yes, that's the thing as well. Some great shots, but not very consistent. And that's going to come up in another one that I know you've seen later on as well, but we'll get to that. Either way, I would say this one is... well, if Downton sold out this week, let's just call it that one. Velvet Queen, see it in limited theatrical if Downton is closed for the week. What else? What are we doing next? Are we talking about Casablanca Beats?
Well, let's get a little bit more upbeat. Casablanca Beats it's in cinemas, but also video on demand from today as well. It's rated 12A. Take us through this one. Please say it's a little bit more upbeat and there's got more movement to it than the Snow Leopard.
Right, okay, I'm going to pitch you, Moroccan Dangerous Minds with hip-hop instead of poetry. How's that one work? Does that work for you? Because this is far and away the most I enjoyed any movie this week, and it was quite a forgettable week. Luckily, I had already been to see Everything Everywhere All at Once down the local Celebration cinema here, so I have had some fun this past week. I've gotten to see Michelle Yeoh kick some ass, which we're going to get to talk about in about 2 weeks. I can't wait. So, like I said, this is about a rapper turned sort of aspiring Robin Williams in Dead Poet style figurehead who takes a job at a local cultural centre, basically teaching kids a music class, basically adding hip hop to the curriculum of a music class and trying to inspire young delinquent youths to sort of find themselves and to find further aspirations. It is exactly the movie you think it is, and like I say, Moroccan Dangerous Minds with hip hop is about as apt a description you could possibly come up with for it. I will say, predictably, amazing playlist. Like, obviously, because there's times when this goes full Sister Act 2. You know the point when the kids in Sister Act 2 kind of took over, like, musically? It has that going for it, where here you get the kids as they start to sort of find, as they start to assert themselves and find their confidence and start to step forward, they take over the playlist. Yeah.
Do we get Dolores Van Cartier equivalent going, la, 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 la?
Yeah, you know what you actually do? You actually get an aspiring Boys to Men moment in this as well.
Oh, wow.
There's even a moment that just reminded me straight up of that moment from Straight Outta Compton, in which you hear Eazy-E finding his sort of his recording voice for the first time. There is a moment that's just like that in this, and it took me straight to that moment in F. Gary Gray's Straight Outta Compton. I will say, I thought Anas Babusi, I think his name is the lead, as funnily enough, Anas, is really great. I think he's got tremendous presence in this because it's a very he is a sort of Michelle Pfeiffer role here, and the way that they come at this character is they come at the character from the idea of the establishment being sort of old and fuddy-duddy, aren't really down for his more delinquently tinged, his more controversial ways, and it doesn't go down well within the community. For instance, what he is inspiring in, for instance, the female members of the class, because remember, Muslim community, and the way that he plays in the face of that at once is, inspiringly defiant. It is that straight up old school Sidney Poitier, kind of, they called me Mr. kind of moment. It is that Blackboard Jungle kind of authority figure assertion, but at the same time, his performance doesn't shy away from showing you his own nuances and his own straws and vulnerability within that. So really good performance, I would say.
And is he quite an established, or is this kind of full of newbies, or am I putting you on the spot to not know that?
I mean, you were putting me on the spot, to be honest, but that's only because I had checked and then forgotten and have just checked again now. So I can tell you that it is the only credit to his IMDb name, so I couldn't find anything else with it. And what I will say, it's not quite as conventionally gripping. Go on, sorry.
Okay. No, I was just going to say that's good that there's that. For someone who is essentially quite new to this space, commands such a presence on the screen. I think that's quite a positive thing and shows that there might be a bright future for this particular actor as well.
Itself is not as conventionally gripping in that mainstream popcorning sense as, for instance, the obviously comparable Dangerous Minds or any of the sort of Dead Poet Society, Mr. Tibbs, Blackboard Jungle kind of movies that I'm bringing up, in contrast. But it is quite a really solid slice of sort of, I would say, adult to teen drama. It can work for either way. It doesn't feel patronisingly talked down to as regards its teen characters. I will say that, which is, to be honest, quite refreshing.
Welcome back to Off Screen. Now we're keeping you very firmly in the limited seats of the cinema for these next two movies as well. Remember, if Downton isn't available for you to watch, these are the options. I'm not saying they're good, I'm not saying they're bad, I'm just saying they're available.
These films exist.
These exist. So the next film is available in cinemas and also video on demand. This one is called Your Mum and Dad. It is a movie which starts with the Philip Larkin poem Your Mum and Dad, which I'm not going to say the other bits to that particular poem. If you've read it, you'll know it.
Mm-hmm.
If you studied it at A level, you'll remember it. And it follows the story of a documentary filmmaker. Van will have her name shortly for us, who basically...
Cheers for dropping me in it there.
Sorry, I can't pronounce it.
I'm going with Clartier Quirian.
As you can see,
Quirian. Clartier Quirian. We're going with. That's her name. There you go. I'm
there we go. And she is the mother of 2 daughters. She has been, I suppose, documenting a friend stroke colleague of hers who's been having therapy for the last 15 years, of sitting in on his therapy sessions and filming them. And then she finds something wrong with her left breast, and that inspires her to start turning the camera on herself, to what I can, which ultimately uncovers the fact that there is a devastating truth that opens up about her own family as well. But all I can say about this is, before you hear it yourself, there is going to be one of the most self-indulgent pieces of cinema you've ever seen.
I think that parents who are traumatized do, on some level, ask the child to help them with that trauma.
How did she get to a place where she did that to me? And I don't know. You know, it's a general problem we have. How do you blame somebody when they're that way for their own reasons?
I can't even really begin to pretend with this one, to be honest, Bex. I really can't. This was... I once spent 18 hours in an airport in Romania. And it was during what seemed to be a dead weekend. It was a long night. There was only one store. It didn't sell many things. This was the early 1990s. And, oh God, it was one of the most horrific, dull, elongated, unending experiences, rather like this anecdote. And I do this only because it's a comparable contrast to actually watching Your Mum and Dad. I love the fact that you pointed out, oh my God, I'm sorry, I'm breaking with the cutaway now. Good Lord, who puts this out there? Jeez. Okay, so I start watching this thing. You pointed it out brilliantly when you said, you know, that Philip Larkin poem that you'll remember from A-levels. Right, that's it. That's it right there, Bex. Because this smacks of being the creation of someone who heard that at A-level. It stuck with them, and they've just carried that with them for the rest of their life to whip out every time someone questions their intelligence, as if it's some kind of, oh, I can't be dumb because I remember this thing from A-level. And they do it at dinner parties. Conveniently enough, the exact same place where you'd run into your friend's weirdly well-off bohemian girlfriend at a dinner party who'd like endlessly talk about this project they were doing and how they were filming this thing. And this is what you'd see. This is what they would bring up on their phone and show you every single time. Garbage like this kind of self-indulgent, pretentious boho waffle. Oh my God. I mean, and that's before you get to the actual, the actual practical... I'm not even thinking about that. I'm thinking about the legal side of this. Like, is this thing not a malpractice case waiting to happen? I mean, I know that someone has to have signed off on this on the therapist end, but you are literally broadcasting like people's therapy sessions. I know that that's been consented to, but obviously it's not the most informed of consents, because also, why? What relevance does it have to anything ever? This just feels like a bunch of crap, random, assorted crap, thrown into a crap bag and rattled around to create a new, more shapely, amorphous blob of merged crap, super crap, as it were.
You've forgotten one essential piece of addition to the crap that's thrown into this movie.
Go on.
The archival footage that is thrown in to give it life.
The old crap. The old crap.
The old crap. But no, one of the things that really stood out for me was there was a black and white film of a woman throwing knives at a toddler as part of like a circus act. And I was like, what the hell am I watching? What is this? By the way, it was to caveat that it was knives around the toddler, not at the toddler. It was part of a knife throwing act that there is.
I will be really honest with you. After how long was this? It was an hour and 15 minutes.
Oh my god.
Oh my! Like, let's be honest, Bex. You and I have been in this job long enough. We've all been invited to real world premieres of films that have turned out to be things like this, and you have to stand around the lobby afterwards and pretend to be really charmed by it. And I can honestly say, in the case of this one, I would simply run through the nearest plate glass window, leaving a van-shaped hole behind. Just disappearing, screaming into the night. Good lord.
Good lord. But I think the biggest gripe that I have is I don't understand how anyone else watched it and went, this is good. Yeah, I mean, this is something that I think if it's herself, for her to help herself get through this trauma, she should do it, but for only herself to watch it because no one else wants to see it.
I mean, I remember a poem. Here's my friend's therapy. And by the way, I know how Final Cut works. Anyway, let's move on to We're All Going to the World's Fair. I mean, I will say, actually, not that well, it's worth pointing out, because if you're an editing nerd, there's some glaring slip-ups.
Terrible editing.
There's some really bad edits in there, actually. But we're getting petty now. Let's not do that. Okay, so let's move on to We're All Going to the World's Fair. I think this premiered in the US about 10 days ago, something like that. I had not heard of it until I just arrived in the US at that time. And Twitter was alive and everyone was talking about this thing. It was rather like Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I thought, oh, okay, it's out here. I should try and catch this. Managed to get a link for it. It's coming out in the UK today. This is in cinemas. Is this cinema exclusive in the UK or cinemas and VOD? I have it written
cinemas
down
from today.
It is cinemas from today. Okay, cinemas from today in the UK. I think it was on Hulu in the US, might be the thing. So this is, at first, this is edited and structured. I initially thought this was Scottish. I started watching like, oh, it's Scottish. Weird. Turns out, no, it's American, and it's just, I misheard, because it was a short sentence. I misheard and took Scottish away from that. I am a fool, clearly. So, James, and I practiced this surname as well. James Schoonbrown. James Gunn-Brown writes and directs this relatively kind of to-camera, kind of found footage-like horror tale, really, that stars Anna Cobb as Casey, who undertakes this online sort of role-playing horror game, which is kind of like an online Bloody Mary thing. Am I reading this right, Bex? This right? Did you get to watch this one?
No, I didn't. And I kind of wish, having the ones that I had watched, you had given this one a shot.
She undertakes a sort of in the same way we all did the ice bucket challenge. Well, this one goes around as a sort of a horror version of that. They're all like spreading the ring video or something. And she undertakes this challenge where you say, I want to go to the World's Fair over and over. And supposedly it summons like a malevolent force, like a Candyman type thing. And she decides to document what actually happens, for her followers when she does this. And gets contacted by someone who wants to, help her along the way, who has seen this firsthand and wants to try and school her to get her out of it. And of course, as you can imagine, well, this being slightly horror-tinged, things ratchet up.
So, you want to join the internet's scariest online horror game? We can't be held responsible for what you become. All you have to do to get started is take the challenge.
I don't know what to expect. I want to go to the World's Fair. I want to go to the World's Fair. I want to go to the World's Fair.
So I will say, this is very neon-y. It's a very neon-y one, Max.
Yeah, so I haven't watched this, but I have seen that the gun loved this and gave it 4 stars, which made me think I wish I'd chosen to watch this instead of the ones I did watch. But
no,
you disagree.
I do disagree.
Yeah.
I think nice effort, but it's no more particularly remarkable than a billion of the sort of direct-to-DVD kind of horror things you and I see all the time. Like we've seen, it's a calling card of clearly there is a talented voice behind it. I don't think that voice has particularly gotten to say very much with this, other than hello, I'm a voice, I exist. I don't think anything has particularly been said by that voice, but I think it's a good calling card for it. And I am referring to Jane Schoonbrown when I say that. Having said that, Anna Cobb in the lead is pretty good as well. Not overly familiar with her. What should we pull this up now? It's going to turn out she was the second lead in Emma or something like that. No, obviously not. Thanks God for that. But no, James Scott Brown, I think, calling card on this one, but it didn't blow me away, and it does seem to have really been taken to heart by the horror community. So I will say, if you are part of the the diehard horror tribe, if you're part of Horror Twitter, for instance, you've not seen this, jump on. Apparently this is very much for you. I left it feeling a little underserved, quite cold by it, like I had really been watching more of a sizzle reel, but fair play, it does seem to have its fans.
Welcome back to Off Screen. Now we have taken you on that wild ride of the cinema. Yes, I am saying that in a sarcastic tone. And bringing you to something that I think is actually going to pique your attention a little bit more. It's what's on the small screen, the 7-day guide to your telly box. Top movies on the telly box. And I have to say, don't worry, guys, stick with us. These are so much better. And we are kicking off. Oh, yeah. We're kicking off with a film that I know both you and I, Van, absolutely loved when this came out and we watched the screening for it. It's on 10:45 p.m. on Film 4. It's Ready or Not.
Yeah, Ready or Not, which was this, I think this was 2019. I think this was like fall 2019. We watched it not long before the end of the decade and COVID. But this starred Sam Weaving in what I think, without COVID, would have been an immediately star-making turn. I feel like we would have seen more of her by now if it hadn't been for COVID. She's the bride.
I was just going to say, she's kind of Margot Robbie's doppelganger, almost. It's a bit of
younger sister type.
Yeah, it's a bit of a hard one for her because she can't really, when you've got such a big star name as Margot Robbie doing all the stuff, she's probably stolen all those roles, so...
I think what that means is because Margot Robbie gets to go and do the big star-making ones, Sam Weaving gets to do the more interesting ones, like Ready or Not, and like the G.I. Joe thing, the more fun, darker ones, I think. So in the case of Ready or Not, you have the bride who's married into the rich board game empire family who must, as part of the ritual the family mysteriously have, undertake a game of hide-and-seek on her wedding night. A game of hide-and-seek that may, in fact, prove murderous.
I have to call the others.
No, you don't. No. You can help me, please.
This doesn't end well for you. I just don't want to be the one to serve you up.
Daniel, I'm begging you.
I'm really sorry about all this. It's true what they say, the rich really are different. I'll give you a 10-second head start.
That's Ready or Not there on Film 4 tonight. 10:45, perfect hour for it as well, I think,
Yeah, and actually just a barrel of laughs and good fun and not what you'd expect when you first go into watching this. So please, it's a great Friday night movie for you, as is a good Saturday night movie. This one is obviously a classic, Saving Private Ryan on 5-star, 9 p.m. Saturday. That epic war movie, the search for Matt Damon's character, if you were ever kind of watching Band of Brothers and everything at the time, it was.
This actually directly gave us Band of Brothers, I think, didn't it? Because this teams Hanks and Spielberg up in that sort of style, doesn't it?
And it was it sort of kick-started that era of a real love in cinema and TV for military style kind of movies that weren't sort of, jumped up jocks going, yeah! It kind of had that real, I suppose, human element to it, if that makes sense.
It also, because it ties in around that time as well with the rise of the home console embrace of the early Medal of Honors and Call of Duty games, back when these games were all World War type first person. And a whole cultural movement, we seem to repopularize World War II at the end, at sort of mid to late 90s, weirdly. But Saving Private Ryan, absolute banger. And I believe the first time I think American cinema committed itself to rescuing Matt Damon, something that would become a tradition for decades to come. You can see that at 9 p.m. Saturday night on 5-star. It's a good one. You would think a 2-and-a-bit-hour war movie would not work on a Saturday night, but Saving Private Ryan,
it does.
It's quite a rompy popcorn ride in World War II, despite the fact that it's got kind of bags of heart and soul. Onto something a little weirder for Sunday night then. Film 4, 10 past 11. We got a clip for this one. one, The Dressmaker. So, film 4. This is Kate Winslet and Hugo Weaving. Remarkable to get to see Hugo Weaving return to his cross-dressing roots. If you're a Priscilla, Queen of the Desert fan, as I am, it's nice to see him embracing the lighter fabrics once more. Do you remember this one, Max?
I do. So Kate Winslet is like a dressmaker who finds herself in like an outback Australian town, and I can't remember the time period for this. Is it like the 30s or some sort of?
I believe it's about that, but she's trying to escape her disgraced past, and of course it comes to the small town with her. And
I really liked it.
I did as well.
Dior.
Very good, Sergeant Ferret. My design, but Dior inspired.
Myrtle Dunnage.
Tilly.
You grew up.
You got old.
Sad, but true.
What have I done this time?
Fine leather can be irreparably damaged by moisture and mildew. Tilly.
How's my mother?
Molly doesn't get out much these days. Did anyone know you were coming?
They'll know soon enough.
Winslet and Weaving there. So see The Dressmaker. Incidentally, I think I wound up on some of the marketing somewhere for this, for the pull quote, The Dressmaker will have you in stitches, which is one of my worst puns ever. One that I did not get a pull quote for, and I don't think many people actually even attempted to come up with one for, though. 2019's Men in Black International is on Monday night, 9 p.m. on Film 4. This is one of those best of a bad bunch kind of situations. Although, you know, I think this did make more money internationally, funnily enough, given the title, than it did in the US. F. Gary Gray's... what Gary Gray ever do to you? F. Gary Gray's directed reboot of the Men in Black series, in which the titular suits are filled by none other than Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson, and this time taking on a sort of a race of imposter aliens. Effectively, they sort of imposter aliens who disguise themselves as humans and who seem to have taken over the MIB. It's got its moments. Kumail Nanjiani's a lot of fun as a little, like, 3-inch tall alien, I think.
You always say that about Kumail Nanjiani. You love him.
I love Kumail.
You know what? I just think with films like this that reboot something that also kind of doesn't feel like it ages massively. I think to completely not have Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones in it in any way, shape, or form doesn't make sense at all.
I spent the entire movie waiting for, you know, the cameo. I honestly did. Yeah. I thought because they do have Emma Thompson from the third one. Emma Thompson's the only returning player, I think. And if you think about it, you can always get a pug to be Frank. That's not exactly difficult to recast Frank. But and obviously we can't have Rip Torn back. But you know what I mean? Just there's a faint reference to Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones in the form of the painting. Yeah, but that's it. You're thinking, really? You couldn't like just gotten Tommy Lee in to do the Liam Neeson bit or something like that?
I don't know. You know, like the fact is that we're seeing Val Kilmer cameoing in some way, shape, or form in the new Top Gun Maverick. Like, we don't know how that's going to happen, but it's easy to do that. And if you can do that with Val Kilmer by using an artificial intelligence voice for him, you know, to make that all work, then why couldn't you have brought back Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones in this? I don't know. Let's move on.
I mean, yeah, especially when you consider that we have an actor who has played a younger version of Tommy Lee Jones in the form of Josh Brolin. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. This is one of those that we just have to acknowledge just every time it's on because it's great. Tuesday night, 9 p.m. on Turner Classic Movies, TCM, a channel we rarely refer to. Pacific Rim is on. It's on quite a bit at the moment, but it's on 9 p.m. on Tuesday night. There's nothing else really good on Tuesday night, so I'd recommend watching it. It's a banger. Yeah. It's effectively Power Rangers meets Top Gun. What more do you want from a movie? Imagine that concept with Idris Elba, with Charlie Hunnam on final Anton Jord form, with Charlie Day and Bern Gorman hamming it up. It was almost Victor Frankenstein-like mad scientists. It's great. It's an absolute. It's got a great soundtrack. It's got a great score. It's got great visual effects, cinematography. It's a Guillermo del Toro movie with giant robots.
Is it this one, or is it the sequel where Idris gets his like Any Given Sunday kind of moment? Like,
I'm sorry.
It's kind of
do you mean this?
Today, at the edge of our hope, the end of our time. We have chosen not only to believe in ourselves, but in each other. Today, there's not a man nor woman in here that shall stand alone. Not today. Today, we face the monsters that are at our door and bring the fight to them. Today, we are canceling the apocalypse.
Yeah, that's the one. Pacific Rim, Tuesday night, 9 p.m. TCM. Right, to finish the week off then in style, though. Skyscraper, the Dwayne Johnson one, Becks. Film 4, 9 p.m. on Wednesday. Do you remember this one?
Oh, well, I certainly remember the poster, which I remember the nerds all came out and were like, that would never happen. He could never make that jump. It doesn't work. And I loved it. Return of Neve Campbell as well onto the big screen after quite a long time playing, I think that's his wife, isn't it, in it? And I mean, you watch it once, you don't really need to watch it again, but it's good old-fashioned The Rock fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's just, you knew what The Rock doing PG-13 Die Hard was going to play like. It's fine. It's better than any of the Die Hard sequels we've had for the last 20 years. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll round out the week with a movie that is on fairly often, but I got to revisit this recently, and the TV show that follows it as a sequel. And I'm a big fan of this movie, I'm not gonna lie. I've never read the book, funnily enough. 9 p.m. great movies Thursday night. Bradley Cooper in Neil Burger's Limitless, in which he's the struggling author who takes a pill called NZT that unlocks the ability to access every part of your mind, turns you into a super genius. That, of course, and what you basically get is a flowers for Algernon type situation, in which, of course, you know, the great boost in intellect comes at a Faustian cost. This made something of a 5-minute star of Neil Burger for his directorial style, which is incredible in this. It's really incredibly specifically stylized movie. There's loads of great in-camera and in the editing stage trickery at play. Here, he got to do the Divergent series, I think, after this. Was it Divergent or Hunger Games? I think it was Divergent.
No, I think it was Divergent.
It was Divergent, which was a great match for him, but of course that franchise didn't quite work out. And of course, this was the big platform for Bradley Cooper before he went off and became an Oscar baby. I like Limitless very much. It's a movie I will go back and watch every couple of years.
In it, isn't it?
De Niro is in it. Abby Cornish is in there as well. Loads of that guy from That Thing kind of faces that you'll notice in there as well. But I think a great one to end the week on. It's ripped. It's got a ripped pace. It's quite breezy, slick, stylish, fun, cool. You will care. It does keep you in suspense. You don't quite know where it's going to go or what he's going to come up with next. But more importantly, like I say, it is like nothing else you've seen.
Welcome back to Offscreen for one last ride. We are taking you through everything that is in between the big screen and small screen. It is what is available on streaming DVD and Blu-ray. And I'll tell you what, this week we're monkeying around a little bit. We have got some Planet of the Apes plethora of movies for you, which I think you're going to enjoy. And it's all courtesy of Disney+. So kicking off today, we've got Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Now, Van, you have to remind me what order they come in, because I remember I can kind of go, this one was my favourite, but this one wasn't, and da-da-da-da.
So what we've got now is Disney Plus are basically going to fill out the missing spaces in their Apes collection, because weirdly I think they've had Dawn of and War for the Planet of the Apes in their library already. Rise, which started that reboot trilogy, that remake trilogy, or reboot trilogy, however you want to say it, that's coming up. So the whole Caesar Andy Serkis trilogy now on Disney Plus. This is the one that came out in 2011. This was my second week as a film critic, would you believe? Starred James Franco and David Oyelowo, and it's the story of how the lab monkey Caesar became the ape who effectively ended the world.
Mr. Jacobs, I am begging you not to do this.
Look, it would cost a small fortune to run lab workups on all of those chimps only to tell me what I already know, that they are contaminated.
There are lives at stake here. These are animals with personalities, with attachments.
Attachments? Yeah. I run a business, not a petting zoo. Find the most cost-effective way to put those apes down.
All right, a bit disingenuous. Technically, we ended the world, and he kind of rose to prominence around the same time. But yeah.
Why is the first one the last one to come out on Disney Plus?
I don't know. I have no idea. I could not begin to tell you. But speaking of the, filling out the ranks, they have also had Planet of the Apes, the original Charlton Heston 68 version, in the library for a while. So now we're going to get the rest of that as well. You're going to get chapters 2 through 5 of that saga, which, off the top of my head, are, I think, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Escape from the Planet of the Apes, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, and Battle of the Planet of the Apes. I think that's the order. And they then effectively form the Caesar story. They are kind of effectively the story of what became of Caesar after the Andy Serkis stuff. So the Andy Serkis sort of timeline kind of happens weirdly in the middle of it. And
am I right in thinking, and you may not know this, but was there a series of Planet of the Apes in the 60s?
There is a TV season, series as well that lasts for a single season. I think that's taken as canon as well, and you can see certain two-parters made into movies sometimes.
Because the reason why I say that is that I have a very vague memory of me as a kid, like turning on Channel 4 or something, and it was on there.
Was it Star TV when you were in Asia by any chance? Because I watched a lot of it on Star TV in Asia when I was a kid as well.
Maybe that and the Power Rangers.
Thank you, Star Plus, for your 3 p.m. weekdays Adam West broadcasts. Yeah. It's got me through school.
Yeah, exactly. But look, for that reason, that nostalgic reason, like I'm a huge fan of the original movies as well, and I think anyone coming new to them now will kind of go, "Oh God, look at them! They look terrible compared to the CGI."
I watched Conquest, which is the one that is the most. That's kind of the origin story of Caesar in this version, kind of this different version of the Andy Serkis type character. That's Conquest, which I think is the 4th. And I rewatched that quite recently. I rewatched that with the release of, I think, Battle. With War in 2018, with the Andy Serkis trilogy close in 2018, and it's got Ricardo Montalban as his human father, and I'm you know me, I'm a huge Khan guy, I'm a huge Khan dude. So Ricardo Montalban gets my money in anything, and Conquest does hold up, like it works as a movie. It feels a little cheap by today's standards, but as a movie, it's still entertaining, it's still gripping, the performance is still there. Roddy McDowall kicks ass in it. It's like you can see the whole cinematic saga, maybe not the TV stuff yet, on Disney Plus from today, along with Rise of the Planet of the Apes, bringing the Andy Serkis trilogy to completion as well. Also on streaming this weekend, and this is one I have a soft spot for in my heart, Becks. Do you remember post Avatar when they decided to try and convert everything into 3D, whether it made sense or not? We wound up with things like Green Lantern 3D. And and U2 3D. Actually, U2 3D wasn't bad. And Clash of the Titans 3D. One that I actually quite enjoyed was Piranha 3D, which came out in 2010.
Do you know what? I always remember it being called Piranha 3D. It's not Piranha. Yep. It was always Piranha 3D. Like that, but I've never seen it.
Exactly that. Well, allow me to put this one to bed for you. So, Piranha 3D from 2010 stars Elizabeth Shue in effectively the Roy Scheider in Jaws role. She is the single mom / sheriff of a small spring breaky waterfront town that has a piranha problem on spring break weekend. She also has a teenage son who she asked to stay home and babysit his younger brother. But you know what? He sees all these spring breakers coming into town, including a Girls Gone Wild style video shoot run by sleazy video producer Jerry O'Connell, who has these 2 porn stars, one of whom is played by Kelly Brook, and he wants to entice our teenager to take him out on the water on this spring break weekend so he can film some porn underwater. Because he's classy like that. By the way, this is all in 3D. Yes, it's killer piranhas. And most importantly, yes, Christopher Lloyd does appear in this movie.
Oh my, yeah, that's right. Oh my. Excuse me, but is that a piranha?
Carl, it's not the only one.
Yeah, here, look at this. There's thousands of them. Thousands, and they're
I've heard of this happening. It's like those baby alligators in New Jersey. Someone leaves them and then they breed.
What?
No. Release this fish into the lake.
What are you talking about?
This particular piranha vanished off the face of the earth more than 2 million years ago.
I don't think it would be right without Christopher Lloyd.
No, it wouldn't. Also, I want to point out the opening of this movie, I believe, if I remember this correctly, is Richard Dreyfuss on a boat in the middle of the water singing Show Me the Way to Go Home to himself as he's circled by piranhas. It's a massive Jaws rip. I think this is great fun. Jerry O'Connell, no joke, gets one of my favourite ever on-screen deaths in this movie. Because
Brilliant.
a part of him gets bitten off by a piranha in 3D and presented very, very slowly and twitchingly to the audience, to camera, in stereoscopic 3D. Yeah, that's a thing that happened.
Yeah.
So, how can you not love a movie whose sequel is entitled Piranha 3DD? I mean, come on.
Oh my God. Right, let's move on swiftly from that. That is brilliant. Now we're going to go straight to what's on DVD and Blu-ray to round off the show today. And we've got... Oh God.
We've got the most controversial movie of the year.
Yeah. And I assume you're talking about... Well, no, I mean, this was kind of controversial, just in the sense that people were like, can we talk about periods on screen?
People were going nuts on Twitter. They were like, how dare you show my children this? How dare you talk about it? I'm like, no, I don't think many kids are going to watch it. It's worth noting that our boys, actually saw it and just did not care in the slightest.
No.
and to now incorporated turning red and going panda into their vernacular, which I think is incredible. So, Turning Red, Bex, you want to tell us real quick before the clip?
Well, I haven't actually seen it.
Oh.
So I probably can't.
Have you not yet? Oh my God, you are missing out. Oh, it's so good.
I know. I remember when you reviewed it and you were like, it's really, really good. But I think
really
I read everything about it as opposed to actually just watching it.
Okay, Turning Red then, in which I think 13-year-old early 2000s May discovers a family curse that turns her into a giant red panda whenever she's excited, as you can hear here. Oh.
This isn't happening. This isn't happening. Wake up.
Minnie, is everything okay? Don't come in here! Minnie, what's going on, honey? Are you sick? Is it a fever? A stomachache? Chills? Constipation?
No.
Wait, is it that? Did the red peony bloom?
No. Maybe?
Turning Red then on DVD and Blu-ray from this coming Monday, the 2nd of May. One that I know a lot of parents will have to be buying copies of just because the rate the kids will burn through these things. Honest, have you ever seen the underside of the average child's DVD? Oh my God.
No.
They wear and tear on discs. Whoa, like savages. Right, speaking of, you'll see the same result in many a student hall of residence, I'm sure, when Jackass Forever comes to DVD and Blu-ray this coming Monday, at least if you're me and it's the mid-2000s, because we went through a lot of screenings of Jackass 2 or Jackass 3, which was it in 2007? Might have been 3. I have a soft spot for the Jackass film series. The boys are back, and they're as bumbleheaded as ever. So, it's one of those things, you do look at it now quite nostalgically. It's amazing that we look back on something like Jackass with genuine reverence and nostalgia, but somehow this actually does manage to tug at the heartstrings. You wouldn't think it, but it does, and it is nice to see most of them all back together. It's sad to see them all back without Ryan Dunn as well. But yeah, it's just great to see Jackass again. I hope there is something of a feeling with this that they are kind of creating a new generation, but it's kind of like Scrubs. You don't want to see a new cast doing it. You kind of want the OGs.
I'm going to tell my husband was so excited to watch this, and he was like trying to find his mates to go and watch it with him to kind of go back in time. Didn't manage to do it, so he sat down and watched it, and I watched a little bit of it. I watched the Godzilla-style opening with a twist, shall we say. And at that point, I walked out.
Not for you, huh?
Not for me. And he was like,
not my tempo.
See you later. Yeah, not my tempo. But for those who grew up watching Jackass, I can see why you'd watch this. So that is a way to round off today's show. I think what we'd say is that you've got some really top telly this week. Definitely.
Thank God.
Thank God. Yeah. If you're not watching Downton, stay in.
Yeah. Just put the telly. If you're not watching Downton, put the telly on. Trust us.
Yeah.
Do you know what though? I can tell you that next week is going to be a little better. It's going to be a little better. We've got comedy Wild Men. We've got the documentary Wake Up Punk. We've got Arica, which I forget what that is. I looked that up and it sounded really good though, and I forget what it is now. So it can't have made that much of an impression. But the one I know we're all going to be talking about next week, Doctor Strange is going into the multiverse of madness next week
as well.
Yep. So Moon Knight's going to end and Doctor Strange will return in the same week next week, so the Marvel guys can have a field day as we wait to see what Ezra Miller gets up to in Hawaii next. Meanwhile, that's about all we've got left over for this week then. So I've been Van Connor.
And I've been Becks Perfect and shall return.